the Tyson-Paul fight. It's looking like 16-ounce gloves, no judges, and 2-minute rounds.
I'll judge them.
I think in
That's crazy.
I think in Tyson's last one, right, they had like celebrity judges or something.
Exhibition fights.
I think that's what they did, is they
Yeah.
had celebrity judges.
So what's stopping Tyson from biting ears off?
Nothing, right.
Yeah, that was going to be one of our topic. Did you guys see the bite bonus?
Oh gosh, yeah. That poor freaking dude got bit.
The guy that got bit in the arm?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
If he didn't have a mouthpiece in, he would have taken some flesh.
Yeah.
Now it looks like there wasn't a mouthpiece. Oh, I guess the mouthpiece is like molded to the teeth, so you could see teeth marks and stuff.
There was that, and then also the top. So the top, you could see like a smooth groove, but the bottom, I don't think there's a cover for the
Okay.
bottom.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Dang, man.
So the bottom had like individual teeth marks, and then the top was like the mouth guard.
Yeah, I saw a post too where the guy that did the bite was like pleading for forgiveness
Yeah.
from the commission,
Yeah.
talking about I got a family and blah blah. It's like, bro, you bit that dude.
They kicked him out, right?
Yeah, removed from the
And they took his purse and they haven't given it to him yet, and he's complaining that they might not give him the purse and that he needs that money for his family. It's like, of course you do. Nobody questions that. What are you biting people for? Is what we question.
There's certain things like
He's lost his cool.
grabbing the fence and doing things that are like fouls, right? And you serve your point or whatever for that foul. But when it comes to like straight up trying to mutilate somebody, and that's what that is, trying to take a chunk out of them, like the Tyson fight, that's just uncalled for. I immediately cut the person. And what Dana White was saying is he's going to have a hard time with the Athletic State Commission. So even if the UFC brought him back, getting him sanctioned for a fight probably isn't going to happen.
No, and they were not going to bring him
Who's
back.
gonna
Why
want
would you
it
want to go
big?
to the trouble?
Yeah, no, you can't trust somebody like that.
Nah.
There's certain things that's like, oh man, why'd you do that? And then there's other things like, we're done.
Well, and this one makes you wonder how he passed the psychological exam, because they make you take a lot of tests to get a professional fighter's license, man. I don't know if it's any different than it used to be, but I know I had to take like a psychological test. Like they want to know why you want to do this for a living. They think there's something up there, right? And obviously there was with him. And I mean, that's crazy, man.
Well, it's like serial killers and everything else. You can get a weird vibe from people, but until they actually do something,
You don't know.
Yeah.
and you
never
can't
know.
penalize somebody for something they might do.
That's true. Yeah.
Definitely be aware, though,
If you
and
showed
cautious,
no
because-
red flags,
Yeah.
then what are you gonna do? You gotta wait for him to actually bite.
Which sucks, but free country, right? We got a benefit of the doubt until something happens, and
True that.
you can take that philosophy through any horrible thing.
The guy that got bit probably made more money, obviously, because he got the bite of the night bonus.
He got
right?
25. He got 25 grand because he got bit. And
Plus
then,
notoriety. He got.
Did he win the fight?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
DQ.
Yeah.
He won by
But was he
DQ.
winning at that point when he
I
got
don't
hit?
even know.
I don't. It was a prelim. I hadn't seen it yet.
Oh,
I was
okay.
doing family stuff, but he got
Assuming
25.
he was, if he got bit, like, why else are you gonna bite somebody?
Mm-hmm.
It was only the second round, so he had time to come back and all the things. But he got 25 grand for the bite, and then he got it tattooed on his arm.
Right.
And Dana White
Oh,
appreciated.
that was real?
Yeah, Dana White appreciated that so much that he gave him another 25 grand.
Doubled it. Yeah. Plus, like, he probably got like way more IG followers and everything
Oh,
off of
yeah.
being like, you know.
That thing blew up like crazy.
Yeah, that went viral for sure.
Yeah, there was so many different memes and things on
I
that.
wonder if there's something that the other guy could do to leverage it. Maybe go to WWE and like get a nickname, the
Ooh.
Biter or something.
How can you trust that guy though? Nobody was gonna want to work with him. And from what I understand from like WWE, like that reputation is huge. Like,
Or for like the World Wrestling.
yeah, even in the wrestling business, there's a lot of.
But that could be his thing. He could wear like a mask to make sure he doesn't bite. And he could like take it off and
Start
scare
playing the
people.
Mick Foley role.
Yeah, exactly. You might be able to leverage it.
Hey guys, all right, we got Marcus in here, we got Candia Tucker in here. All right, you guys are filing in perfect. We're talking Mike Tyson and the bite guy. I don't even know his name.
Bite heard around the world,
He's
man.
gonna be the bite guy forever.
Yeah.
First UFC fight ruined his reputation right there.
That was his first fight?
First
UFC
fight.
fight.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Done.
Why would you do that? Your first fucking
That's just
big,
like
big fight?
there's I can see losing your cool and doing some silly stuff, but like that's just too much.
It wasn't even like an easy place to back because the announcers were talking about, oh, they're gonna, what are they doing? Like when you're doing a rear naked choke and the lip pulls down, sure, there might be, you know, a little bit there,
Right.
and then as soon as the guy goes like this, they're like, oh yeah, no DQ. Because at first they're like just thinking that it was
in
a graze.
the air?
Yeah, not a very easy place to. He
No,
had-
what was the
He
circumstance?
had a clinch on the back, so
Okay.
he had the back clinch. His face was buried in here, and he just turned it and kind of like pinched.
So he
him.
was in a dominant position?
Yeah.
And he bit my
Yeah.
guy?
Yeah.
What? That's just weirder now. Now it got weirder.
They were also talking. Yeah, 'cause
Maybe that's the kind of stuff that dude's into or something.
Something, bro. That's just crazy.
You forgot where he was at for a moment.
they were talking.
Yeah.
Well, good thing he wasn't doing a triangle or something. It was like,
I know.
I mean, this kind of goes into it. Did you guys hear about the homeless person eating a leg in LA?
No.
Oh, but he was probably on that stuff, that bath salt stuff that they
Yeah, it
smoke.
turns him into zombies.
So
Yeah.
apparently, a
Yeah.
guy got hit by a train or a truck or something, and a leg severed, and a homeless person picked it up and started eating it.
He was on something, man.
That's crazy.
Or he was
like
just
that raw,
super
just picked it up and started-
ridiculous. Well, I doubt I maybe started a fire to cook the thing. I don't know.
No, he didn't even pick it up. He just like went down like a
Wow.
zombie apocalypse. Went down.
Bath salts, bro. They
I was
smoke
like-
bath salts or something,
Yeah.
and it makes. And I've heard of the lady like eating a person's face. Well,
Yeah.
I don't
you
know
know.
how you.
That was like the thing back in the day,
It's
was bath
crazy.
salt.
Yeah.
People were fucking getting weird.
Man,
Hey, man.
L.A.
Was that in LA?
That was in LA. Stay out of LA. Stay out of San Francisco. Stay out of all the freaking cities right now. It's bonkers. But yeah, 16-ounce gloves for Mike Tyson. 2-minute rounds. No judges. And
How many rounds? Is it 10, 12?
I don't know.
6.
They didn't announce that, but it'll be 2-minute rounds.
When's that taking place?
I think it's May, June,
Oh, okay.
somewhere in there. I think it's June.
Who you guys got?
I got Jake, or what's his name? Is that his name?
Jake Paul.
Jake Paul,
Yeah. I got him too. Sadly,
yeah.
I hope
I don't know.
Mike Tyson knocks his head off, of course, but
Yeah, that would be cool.
I think Jake Paul will be able to keep distance just enough to make this thing go longer than Mike Tyson wants it to go.
Yeah, I feel like if it goes like 2 or 3 rounds, it's kind of done for
Yeah.
Tyson.
Yeah, being old is tough.
Might be a 4-round fight even, who knows? No, we don't know how long it is.
You know, that stuff is still funneling in. Small guys pulling guard. So if you're watching competitions, you typically see the smaller guy pull guard. When you start getting into the higher weight classes, you start seeing a little more pummeling, a little more clinch work, a little more aggressive stuff.
Sometimes. I see lots of big guys pull guard though.
Well, the statistic that I saw said 8 out of 9 matches have the guard pull. So everyone, and this is funny, I want to get into this. Everyone that's commenting is apparently a wrestler. Because every single person is making fun of pulling guard, and every single person says, I never pull guard. I always wrestle for the takedown. I always do this. And they're trashing on the guard pullers. And I find it hilarious that there's also that IBJJF stat of like 8 out of 9 matches have a guard pull.
Well, that's an IBJJF stuff, but not a lot. I think out of like 1,000 people that you would gather that train, 70 of them do IBJJF tournaments, bro. Like, don't nobody do IBJJF
There's
tournaments.
definitely that. The problem is there's not a whole lot of stats that you can look at, and there are a lot of stats on the IBJJF. So there's a couple other stats that I got that we'll bring up, but it's IBJJF stats because they're the ones doing the polls.
But you can't take an IBJJF stat and then say this is what jiu-jitsu is.
Sure.
No, that's the IBJJF, man. I don't even do those no more. You know, like
Yeah.
honestly, they're more trouble than they're worth.
That's where just the affiliation and the doing the things and the yearly fees. There's a lot of
Everything.
stuff
Yeah.
with IBJJF. And
Just what they charge so much for a tournament. And I love how they sneak in the early reg, and it's like one day a year ago was early reg.
Right.
For every tournament. For one day a year ago, it was early reg, right?
It is a year.
And now
yeah.
it's like the max, fee. It's like, nah,
How
man.
much is it?
Last
like
one I
that.
looked was like 175 if you're not super early registration.
I'm not a
Yeah.
fan of
Yeah.
IBJJF, man. Which sucks because my professor is like the biggest fan of IBJJF. Megaton loves the IBJJF, and it's like I think they've done a good job, as far as like establishing themselves as the world championships. That they are, because a lot of organizations have a world championships.
Yeah.
But I think pretty much everybody acknowledges that that's the one, that's the real one. So, they've done a good job with that. But and also, I'm not going to complain about, how they run their tournaments. They're nice, very nice, professional, all that stuff. But yeah, they overcharge, and I don't know. And I also feel like a lot of the reffing is super biased. So,
Yeah, I haven't competed with them in years. Pretty much the only one that we do is at AKS is the grappling industry ones. I mean, people are welcome to compete at whatever they want, but we typically try to get the teams together for that. But there was a couple new ones that I think you went to one not too long ago. What was that one called?
Which one was it?
American.
that's not new. The BJJ Tour's been around for a while. That's
No,
Claudio Franco's
Not
BJJ
that
Tour.
one. There was another one. They had it's like black mats. They're all in a row. They have stadium seating. Man, I forget what it's called.
Not sure.
But super cool looking. They have like a helmet, like a warrior helmet as their logo.
No idea. There's a few.
But it looks super legit. Oh, it's the same it's the same organization that the dude was slammed through the judges seating or the scoreboard. So you didn't see that video?
I've seen some videos where guys were going off the mat and they were letting them continue.
This one, he
Oh,
straight
you
up
picked him up from the
picks
middle
up
and
the
walked
guy
him over, right?
like WWE
Oh, I saw that.
and
I saw
slams him through the
I saw
rest.
that
It's,
clip.
it's that organization.
Okay.
I wonder what
American
caused that.
Grappling
That's
Federation.
crazy.
I think that's it. Yeah.
That's-
Black mats. It's got like silver trim, and they're all in a row.
That's the same guy that would bite you in an MMA fight.
Right.
It's like, what, why?
That
I think
seemed
it's-
worse though, dude. That was like there was no reason for that at all.
Yeah, I don't.
But that
no
one,
clue why people do what they do, man.
that one looked pretty legit in competition and everything. It looked clean. One of the people went to it and said it was ran great. So there's ones that are popping up too.
Yeah.
So the alternatives are definitely running strong. It's not a one-man show anymore.
And there, I think there's enough of those alternatives though. To get back to the main point, there was to where you can't take the IBJJF
Right.
stats and say, like you made something comment about 1 out of 400
Yeah,
white
that was
belts,
another one that
and it
we-
was based on IBJJF.
Yeah.
It's like you can't. No way. No way. I think Andy Miranda was on there and he said 1 out of 5,000 at
Yeah.
my gym, and I know his gym is NorCal.
Yeah.
He's right.
Yep.
1 out of 5,000 at that gym will get in. It's
They only have like 9 or something. 8 or 9
I don't know.
of them.
Dave's he takes 20 years to get one from Dave,
Yeah.
and you have to be a killer. Like, it's just tough, and it is gym by gym basis. I think he had the right idea because it is based on what gym you're at and all that. So,
Yeah.
tough to do it off of just IBJJF stats.
It is. And what white belt registers with the IBJJF unless they're competing? So there's probably vastly more. It's the same
And
thing.
you didn't have to. You didn't used to have to.
Yeah.
When I was
Right,
a white
no,
belt,
when
I
I
didn't have to
competed.
pay a team registration fee or whatever with them. They must have just recently started doing that. I remember when it was just black belts had to.
Yeah.
And I think I just got my black belt when that was the case, and I was like, oh, bummer. Right, I got to pay them just to pay them. Literally pay them monthly or pay them yearly just so that I could pay them for each tournament. It's like, oh,
It's silly.
that's why it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's bad.
But lots of competition with that. But another one of those IBJJF stats was like there's 9,000 or 9,500 black belts in the world, and you can't
Registered with them?
registered with IBJJF.
Okay.
So the number's
Wow.
getting up there, but again, you were like 70 out of how many people?
Yeah, that's
so-
the thing. And then back to also what the point you said about guard pulling. I think it's not just a little guy or a big guy thing, dude.
Yeah.
I think it's a jiu-jitsu thing. I think in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, what we do that separates us from wrestling and judo is we pull guard, right? I mean, so that's why little guys or big guys or any guys pull guard. I mean,
Common way to get to the ground.
me and Nick had great training this morning. I probably got in 7, 8 rounds. I pulled guard first every time. Whether I was bigger or smaller or the same size as my training partner, I was the first to pull guard. I wanted to pull guard. And I don't consider myself a small guy or a big guy. I'm kind of like right in the middle there, you know? And even when I was going against smaller guys, I was able to pull guard first, right? So, yeah, it's all about what sport you're doing. You're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, probably going to be good at pulling guard. And if you're not, honestly, if you do Jiu-Jitsu and you're not a good guard puller, then you're like a good submission wrestler or submission grappler probably. But it's like, that's what makes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu what it is. You know, sitting to your butt and being like, I'm fine. You know, or giving up a takedown and being confident that you're still fine.
With all these people saying that they want to wrestle and they always go for, you know, the takedowns and everything, it made me think of the very similar to when you're watching the UFC and it goes to the ground and they're like, get that stuff out of here. It's like, but it's part of the UFC. And
yeah, you got to appreciate that part.
Yeah.
Appreciate all the aspects. I mean, I'm not much of a striker, but I love a good stand-up battle because I appreciate it, you know?
So if you're, you know, doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and you're making fun of a guard puller, like, what are you doing? You're doing the sport where guard pullers tend
plus,
to win.
Makes your job easier, bro, if I pull guard.
Yeah.
Right? Like, didn't you want to get a takedown? Yeah. Cool, now you don't even have to. You're on top. There you go.
And we talked a little bit about this earlier, of the difference of just sitting with no grips and everything, but scooting in, and then like actually grabbing and pulling into like a half guard or an actual guard, or feet on the hips, and
or grabbing and just sitting.
Yeah.
Even like, I mean, I think there's rules,
you have
right?
to grab and then sit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's very common in a practice room for one
Sit and
person.
scoot.
Yeah. To sit or not even start the round standing.
Right.
Slap
Stay
up.
on there the whole time. Right. Yeah, it happens. You know, it is what it is.
We got a few comments in here. Let's address those. AGF, yeah. About 8 years. I'm just scanning. Yeah, the bite fight was, Marcus says that was a close fight. Candia says, I don't believe them, meaning the wrestler, people going for wrestling.
Right.
I've seen plenty of people pull guard. Yeah, it's more common than not. Marcus says, my first year I worked strictly on top game. Now I pull about 75% of the time, still finish quicker from top, but like the puzzle from guard bottom, there's more puzzle guard to keep the game interesting, in my opinion, from bottom. Marcus also says about 8 years in. Marcus, AGF. Frankie Bay says, hey fellas, American Grappling Federation, yep, AGF. Have to in ADCC 2 for a year for the club. Jonathan says, only wrestlers who can't pass guard should be mad at guard pullers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's
good.
the one.
Yeah.
Makes your wrestler job easier than this. You know, pass my guard, bro. ADCC is a good organization. I think they should they should make more tournaments. You know, maybe some more smaller local tournaments for different areas, and then because I know for a while all they had was the ADCC.
Right. It does seem like they're expanding. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I mean,
now they have trials.
That's the organization though where you'll go out off the mat onto the carpet and they're not even stopping and the crowd's just moving and the referee's watching and you know and they wait for like a full break in the action I think to then move you back, but they'll let you keep going, man, which is a little nuts. I mean, unless you're fully prepared for it. Like I can see if you didn't know that was a rule and you were expecting the ref to stop it and the guy pounces on your back and strangles you out of bounds, you'd be like, what? But yeah, if you know it's a rule, man.
There's two scenarios that come to mind with this. So this happens at a lot of competitions, not just IBJJF. One was directly related with my oldest son, but another one was a video, and they were looking for a survey of whether you think this is appropriate. So the guy gets picked up, has a full guillotine locked in, full guard from a standing. And the other guy kind of stumbles out of bounds, and they disqualified him because it appeared as if he went out of bounds
Because he was in the choke.
Because he was in the choke. but he couldn't see where he was with the way that the choke and everything was going on, and he only took like 2 or 3 steps. So it's one of those, well, yeah, but like his awareness might not have been there.
Right.
But
Especially
definitely,
getting choked out.
if
Yeah.
you're legitimately going out of bounds to prevent a submission, I get that. I think typically grappling industries will give you 2 points for a submission attempt that goes out of bounds.
If you're defending it
Yeah.
properly. If you're fleeing, though, they'll DQ you, right?
Yeah, so, which was what they ruled on that one. And then the other one was, my oldest son got locked up in a triangle pretty close to going out of bounds, but he was trying to get his hips in and shoulder walked a couple, went past the line, and they DQ'd him.
Right.
Because the other person had a lot of forward pressure going, and so
Right.
he's trying to get his hips back in. They slide out of bounds.
Because the other person's trying to counter him getting his hips back in, right? So, no, I mean, that you could have argued that he was correctly defending.
Yeah.
Gave the guy 2 points, right?
That's
Or
what-
just do the ADCC rules and let him strangle each other in the carpet, man. Let that match keep going off the mat, right? That's their reason. That's their reason. And this conversation right now is like why they just let it keep going.
I think 2 points is legit, unless it's like deliberate that they're trying to go out of bounds, right? If it's deliberate that you're like, I don't know how to defend this, let me run out of bounds, I get that. But if you're defending, like trying to move away and create space, and you go out of bounds, give them the 2 points. I get that. You got to reward a good sub attempt, but to disqualify it, especially like kids competition stuff. That one was an adult one that we had seen, but kids competition, it's like just reset and let them go. The reset to neutral is tough. Yeah, give them 2 points though. Give them 2 points, or slide them back to the center of the mat. Right, they're kids. Just grab them, pull them in. I've done that a few times.
I mean, restarting in the submission's not a terrible idea, to be honest. I mean, it might seem weird, like, especially if the arm bar was straightened. You don't want to restart with a straight arm bar. You just got to lift the hips and top it out, right? Or restarting with the heel hook just sunk, like, all right, say go. You don't want to do that, but hey, man, you fleed the mat.
Yeah, everyone's a wrestler when it comes to online. It's kind of funny. I bet those same people pull guard. I just have a hard
Or they don't, and they're just trash wrestlers too, because like a lot of these guys think they're wrestlers that can't wrestle. A lot.
I was trying to make that point. Words are hard. Words are hard. Especially when you're typing and you suck at typing.
Words are hard.
So I was trying to make a point of, because I like wrestling, we had this conversation today, it's fun. But if you can get a false sense of security when you're wrestling jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah.
When you're wrestling wrestlers, then tell me you're wrestling, because, man, we have like high school wrestlers and stuff, and we got some kids that are just past high school wrestling, and like they're legit at takedowns of things. And now you can always pull, you can always trap the head. There's guillotines, there's everything there, but man, shooting in on them is tough. And, defense is a little bit easier, but shooting on somebody like that, they're ready for it. Wrestle a wrestler and tell me where your wrestling game is, because if you're out wrestling jiu-jitsu people, it's not the same.
Yeah, that's the same guy that if you'd have given him 2 more seconds, he'd have pulled guard anyway. Like, he's not tripping on your take. He doesn't care that you took him down.
Fair. Yeah.
I firmly believe that if you're doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, man. That's it, man. Because I wrestled for years, and I still currently actively wrestle, right? But I wrestle in a wrestling room. That's when I wrestle, And obviously, if I'm in a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu room wearing a gi, I'm pulling guard 10 out of 10 times, man. And what I might start doing is, because I just got my white belt in judo, right? So I might start practicing some judo with the gi on as well.
I like that.
But not wrestling, man. Once we go no gi, then you might see me taking some shots and adding some wrestling, but limited. I might still pull guard a little bit, and even in no gi, because wrestling's hard. It's the hardest sport in the world. Way harder than jiu-jitsu.
So you do judo now, huh?
Yeah, bro. I started judo the other day. Yep, my gym, we got a black belt. The guy like He's got a purple belt under me in jiu-jitsu. He's just a killer on the with judo, man. He every time, like I remember back when he first started, he's wearing a white belt, right? Tossing me on my head. And I'm like, this is not a good look. You know, new people walk in and they're like, who's teaching who here? And he's just launching. I mean, he's a legit judo black belt. You know, so he offered to start teaching classes, man. So now he teaches one class a week. I bought a white belt just for the class, man. I love it. Feels good too to put on a white belt and be genuinely new and lost at something. Right? Yeah, lost. Like he'll walk up to me and be like, no, that's no. And I'm like, oh, I've given that look to people. All right. You know? It's great. Yeah, I love it. It's a great feeling.
And you have wrestling too now, right?
Yeah, we got wrestling at the gym, and I love that too. And that's, I mean, I'm a lot less lost in the wrestling room, obviously, but yeah, man, all of it, all three of those important.
Hell yeah.
Conor McGregor said, acting is harder than fighting.
You might be right.
He's a pretty natural fighter, and he might suck at acting. So I don't think he's lying. I know Joe Rogan gave him a hard time about it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people online have been saying that's the most BS thing I've ever heard. But like,
I don't know.
what if you suck at acting? And what if you're really good at fighting? And he's not wrong.
If you're not good at fighting, it's easier to get your ass beat than it is to try to act.
I think
in
it's
my
the,
opinion.
I think
I
it's
know.
the
I agree.
You know?
I think it's the consequences that people are talking about, because if you take a fight with like a world-class fighter, the consequences could be life-changing forever.
If you're not a world-class fighter,
Right.
I mean, Conor McGregor is a world-class fighter, and
Yeah.
he's saying
Yeah.
acting's harder. I mean, I don't know. I
Well,
feel
he
like
did-
he's talking about his opinion, and everybody's acting like he's talking about mathematics or something.
Sure,
like,
sure.
as if there's one
Straight
right
facts.
answer to that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude,
Words,
that man
words
said
are
his
hard.
opinion.
He did say acting is harder, not harder for me.
Well, who else would he be talking to, bro? He's him.
Words.
He's him.
He is him.
Yeah, I mean,
Have you guys both seen the movie?
no, is it out?
It is. I've seen it. You didn't see it.
Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. The new Roadhouse movie.
How did you
Check
think the
that out,
acting
man.
was?
How did he do?
It's.
Is it bad? Did he do a shitty job?
It's interesting. So
Oh, shit. Interesting.
it's
Sums it up right there.
It's not a bad movie. If you like watching bad movies that give you good entertainment, it's one of those.
Oh no.
So, like the acting.
I didn't think it was a real movie.
The acting wasn't bad. Jake Gyllenhaal did a good role.
Right, he's a good actor.
They did a pretty good job, because we watched the old one right after. They did a pretty good job matching the storyline. It takes place in a different setting, an island instead of a town. So it's an island in the Florida Keys that's gone bad, instead of a town that's gone bad. But they took the premise and they went. There's some direct matchups with it, so they followed the same storyline and everything. So whenever you're talking about a remake, they did that part really well. Some of the characters just seemed a little over the top, like they were bigger than life. And Conor's character was one of those that was like, that person doesn't exist. That's
Probably part to do with his ego too, though. That he just carries that with him everywhere.
He played the character in the first one that came in at the end of the movie and beat everyone up, and then the hero had to come in, right? And so Conor played that, villain guy. But he played like a villain guy who's all coked up and ready to go.
It might not have been acting.
And everyone's saying Conor just played Conor a little more extreme.
Conor played Conor.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. In the movie, is he a cokehead in the movie?
Looks like it.
But he's on like in
they
the
don't-
bathroom railing and like
No,
on camera.
they don't
Okay.
come out and say it, but every scene is his eyes bulging out of his head, and he's walking like this, and it's very
Hollywood
interesting.
scene.
I think he
got
embraced
he
the
got into
role.
it.
He
Yeah, 100%.
embraced it to the point of
Yeah.
probably doing coke before he did his scenes.
He was a method actor in that one, which means you do the things the character does.
Right. Okay.
Brian Ellis's Conor was way too much. Anthony Doc class says it was worse for us. We watched the old one first. Yeah, I had seen the old one. I'm old, so I had seen the old one
That seems like you would see it then.
back in the
You're old.
90s. I had seen
Yeah,
it.
you said you had seen.
I had.
Oh, you
I,
had seen it. Oh,
I've
okay.
seen the old one. Yep, because I'm old.
I thought you said you hadn't seen it. I was like, it would
No.
make more sense for you to see it.
And then Rachel, my wife, hadn't seen it because she's a little younger. Because it came out in like '89. Not that. And
My grandma owned it.
Swayze, right?
Swayze,
So,
yeah,
true,
yeah.
So we watched that one, and she's like, I hadn't seen the original. And then we watched the new one. She actually said she liked the new one better, but she also watched the new one first. So there's a little bias there. Then we got Candy Attack. You're saying wrestling is really hard. It is really hard. We have one class a week, and it's the toughest one for me all week. And I'm probably too old to be wrestling, but what can I do? I can't get younger or taller. Candy
Yeah.
I always get her age wrong. I was saying 62 for a long time. I think she said 66, 67. I think she just had her birthday. But yeah,
That's impressive though.
it
yeah.
is impressive.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Not gonna get any younger. You might as well start wrestling now.
What do you think about? This is a good one. In wrestling, weight classes are usually way closer together than in jiu-jitsu. Also, in a wrestling room, you typically see the same size guys going together. You tell me if I'm wrong. You're more. of a
No, you're
wrestler.
right, bro. You're right.
And so when it comes to wrestling bigger guys, like I feel so much more comfortable pulling guard on a big guy. There's
Right.
if you can get in, if you get them leaning back and get in on a single leg, kind of like Demetrius Johnson did in his last match.
Right.
Oh yeah. If you can get him on the back foot and just basically run him down.
Well, no.
it's fun.
What it comes down to is, did the bigger guy wrestle also?
Right.
I mean, if the bigger guy, like that's why in a
no, that's
wrestling
a
room,
great point.
the reason why in a wrestling room you don't see the 120 pounders going with the 160 pounders because those 160 pounders are wrestlers in that wrestling room,
Yeah.
right? In a jiu-jitsu, academy or something like that guy that Mighty Mouse wrestles, I doubt that guy wrestled a day in his life,
Right.
So yeah, you could be a smaller guy and beat a bigger guy at wrestling if he didn't wrestle.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. And their weight classes tend to be closer together, like in especially in the youth brackets and stuff like high school or whatever. And as you get older, like I think it was like 70 kilos, 74 kilos. So every 4 kilos or so, which is what 8 point something pounds.
2.25 pounds per pound.
Yeah. So it's like there's not real big gaps in between, but it's because size matters. Hate to break it to some of you gentlemen, size matters, man. You do not want to be wrestling somebody who knows how to wrestle that's bigger.
Yeah.
They'll smash you.
And in a jiu-jitsu room, you see, I go against people who have 80 to 120 pounds on me all the time.
It's pull guard.
It's, I'm 137 pounds right now. I've lost a couple pounds, unfortunately. It's hard to keep that on. But, yeah.
You pull guard. Your legs are your strongest appendages, guys. Your legs are the strongest thing on your body. You pull guard, you get your legs in between you and a bigger guy. Everybody can go in the gym and slap a bunch of weight on the push press machine and start pushing it around. Everybody can do that because your legs are strong. Okay, so you can elevate big giant dudes with your legs. Okay, but the same goes for them. That's why as the bigger guy, I want to pull guard a lot too. Because when I pull guard, it's like I'm playing with my child. Like lifting the legs. We got some guys that are 200 plus pounds on my team, and I try to race to pull guard against them because they also pull guard. And if they do, oh my God, the telephone poles that I'm trying to pass, so strong.
They're huge.
Good Lord,
The
yeah.
legs are huge. And also the squeeze. And just, if they pull their legs, whoa!
Yeah, man.
Like these little sticks that are trying to kickstand.
It's tough, man.
They just get smashed.
That's why pulling guard is good whether you're big or small. It might even be arguably better if you're bigger than your opponent to pull guard because your legs are way strong.
I agree. It's easier to play from top though. You get to rest a little bit more.
I don't agree. I think off my back, are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, you can't rest on top. You got to be passing the guard. If you're on top, you are obligated to be passing.
I meant if you're past, like top.
If you're past their guard, oh yeah, I'll rest. Full mount or side control.
You get a big guy
Oh,
that's
big
like
guy.
locked up that far grip and side control and then laying on it. It's like,
Oh, that's why you don't let them pass.
Yep. Coach Mike's Wrestling is, this is Josh Schwartz.
Mr. Schwartz.
It says Coach Mike's Wrestling, so elite. One time we were at huge jiu-jitsu convention and Sean Roberts told us the story of how Coach Mike hit him with the blast double.
Funny story, because I was asleep in a triangle a few minutes later. Yeah. Oh,
Got
gosh.
the takedown, all right?
I got the takedown. But I remember he like shook his head and then triangled me. So, yeah.
Got a good attempt right now.
Oh, gosh. Blue belt days.
Good story.
Josh is the man, though. I appreciate the shout out, Josh Schwartz. He was on my team back in like 2011, 2012. Ended up moving, but heck yeah.
Do guard pullers bring shame on their family?
Next.
Had to be said. Why aren't there very many small people in jiu-jitsu?
There are, bro. I don't know why you think that.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Is that an IBJJF stat?
No.
No,
If you look at the
it's
room,
silly.
typically
It's
getting
silly, bro.
and even when you're
Here's a
watching instructionals and stuff that are designed for small people, when they're talking about small people, they're talking about 160 pounds.
Well, if you're 160 pounds going against a 200-pound guy, you're a small guy,
Sure.
right? I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot of small dudes in jiu-jitsu. I really don't know what you're talking about when you say that. There's so many small guys in jiu-jitsu. And it's the great equalizer, man. Like, jiu-jitsu is what makes the size not matter. So if you do jiu-jitsu and you're a small guy, you're good to go. Like, especially if you get up there in the ranks. Like, once you're like past purple belt, you're smoking bigger dudes all the time. There's no way some bigger guy, just because he's a blue belt and strong, is gonna beat you. No freaking way. No. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, man. I roll with guys that are smaller than me and they smoke me all the time. Smoke me, right? I always will think of Coach Jack whenever I say this, because I call him the proof. That's like the nickname that I gave him, because he's 135, 140 pounds, right? And he smokes me. So it's like,
Everyone.
it's not a disadvantage to be small, and there's not even a lack of small guys in there. Like, I really don't think there is. Go look at any tournament. It's not like the smaller divisions have nobody in them and the heavyweights are packed. That's not the case at all, bro. Not at all. I remember doing back in 2008, a long time ago. Okay, I thought there was a lot of guys in my weight class, lightweight, and it was was at 167 or something, and there was 140 something guys in that division. 2 divisions lower than us had more.
Really?
Yeah, bro, because lots of little guys do jiu-jitsu, and I think they should, man. Because I think if you're a little guy and you want to be able to defend yourself well, learn Brazilian jiu-jitsu, man.
100%. And I can only share my experience following the grappling industries. Typically, the 135-pound division, 145 has the least, and then 145 has a decent number, and then but when you get like 155 to like that 185, man, it's like 6 times the amount of competitors at grappling industries. It's kind of crazy.
Probably because the bigger guys are more confident to enter a tournament. That's all. It's not because there's more of them or something. Because maybe all the little guys like are having like you're kind of like little guy syndrome thing, where it's like everything is little guy, poor little guy. Oh, what if you're a little? Oh, I'm a little guy. What if you're a little? Oh, I'm a little guy. Like I've heard you say little guy.
I'm a little guy.
A lot, bro. And it's like, I don't know. I think the
Jack is the equalizer, though.
Well, yeah, because you know what I've never heard Jack say?
Yeah.
Little guy. I never heard him say that. So you'll get to that point. You're not there yet, right? You'll get to that point where you'll break past this, like, I'm just little, and therefore, because no, like, I've never heard him once talk about how little he is, ever, right?
I think it's just, and big guys have things also that become challenges, right? But there's a uniqueness to size. There's definitely, and
it's not impressive when a big guy beats you.
No,
It's impressive when a little guy beats you, right? I'm never like, oh my gosh, that was amazing when some 200+ pound guy outmuscles me or something. That's not amazing. When the 140 pound dude arm bars me 4 times in a 5-minute round, I'm sorry, but I'm impressed. test, man. And that happens, so.
Yeah, no, Jack definitely puts things into perspective because he's so good at everything. And again, the size, right? So it's like every time that like type of excuse pops up, I'm like, it is achievable.
I don't even think it's really an excuse, man. It's not an excuse. You can't use that as an excuse. You cannot. I mean, if you're a white belt, okay.
Yeah.
If you're a blue belt, okay. There's got to be a point though where you don't have little guy syndrome anymore. There's got to be that point. If that doesn't come, there's a problem, man. There's a problem. You have to train more or something. You have to train more to get more confident and to start to learn how to beat those big guys, man. Straight up.
I mean, yeah. I hold my own. I do well. It's, and I'm not trying to say that I lose because I'm smaller or anything. It's just different. There's a lot of connection things that are different because the person can literally just throw you to the side. So I've developed a game that's a bit different that flows with it, right? So a lot of like, as soon as somebody tries to switch a position from mount, like if I'm mounted and they're trying to catch things, go knee on belly, circle around, go back to mount. And disconnect, reconnect, disconnect, reconnect.
A lot more of that when you're smaller.
Yeah. And so there's just little things.
That's not bad. That's good
No.
jiu-jitsu.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm not saying that it's just there's
No,
just
you know what your thing, bro,
There's
is
just
that you try to do big guy stuff, Nick.
I do.
Why?
I do. It's
Like you literally said to me today in the second roll you had,
here we go.
oh, I've been bench pressing too much. Like, why are you bench pressing?
That was my
Dude.
That was my example.
You're not a big guy. You can't do that.
I never bench press anyway. My example was trying to convey that if I'm pushing a giant leg, or if I'm framing, or if I'm doing something, there's more stress on the smaller person every time that they try to move.
Why is smaller person
Yeah.
trying to push the leg in the first place, dude? You go around giant objects, you don't push them. And honestly, bro, when I roll with you, Nick, I know you hold on to certain things with power and strength. It's just like, what are you planning on doing with that? You know? Like you planning on doing something with that foot that you just grabbed, held onto for dear life? Like, because you're not, right? You have to use more little guy stuff.
Yeah.
Be the little guy game.
Yeah.
Right? Don't try to power through stuff. I feel you trying to power through stuff a lot.
I think that goes back to early on, because there's always been giants that I've rolled with, and most of my instructors have been 200 plus pounds. And so they have that type of a game. And I think one of my biggest...
And they taught you that?
Yeah. One of my biggest accelerations was you yelling at me to pull guard to do these things, right? Is get into that little guy game rather than do that. Now, when I roll with people who are my size, and I think this is also part of why I bring that up a lot, when I roll with people that are my size, I feel like the Hulk.
Because you're strong, dude.
Because
I've always complimented you on how your grip is just nuts, dad strength, bro. And and your techniques, like whether you're hitting them with nice technique or not, it's strong, bro. And that's always like, wow, man, I'm glad he's only 137, man. You know? Because if he was any bigger, this would be hell on wheels, right? Yeah. But it's like, I just don't rely on it so much, man. I think that's the thing. Because you do fine. Your jiu-jitsu is just fine. I think it's also, bro, to be honest, when you get tired.
Yeah.
When you get tired, you start to squeeze a little harder. Maybe you're thinking to slow it down a little bit, give me a little bit breather, coach, or something, you know. But because when you're fresh, it's a little different.
I definitely try to slow things down the later the rounds we go. Yeah.
No, for sure.
I think my biggest issue with being short is like my legs. I got short legs, so it's hard to get my legs around bigger guys or try to pull anything off.
When you can't get guard, when you can't like mount and get your knees to the floor, those are things.
Side control is king.
Mount, all kinds of things that modify that.
Or just a lot of open guard. Like when you're on your back, you're probably not closing the guard super well, so you're using open guard more.
And if I do close it, it's super like barely holding on. I feel like you could just break it. Like
just open guard, bro.
My toes are hanging on. Hold on for dear life.
Which feels so weak, right? Doesn't it? It doesn't feel like because getting that solid cross with your legs is what generates the squeeze. So it's like open guard. You should be spider guarding in something, man. Getting your feet up on the body more.
For sure.
control the distance with your legs on their body rather than try to reach around them.
Brian Ellis says, I'm 160 and will choke the daylight out of a guy 250. Let me have it. Now,
Good for you, bud.
let me,
I like how you think.
Let me preface this because when I talk about my jiu-jitsu and stuff and we're talking about these things, don't get me wrong. I get taps. I roll with big guys. I do well. You know, I hold my brown belt, I would say. Across the board, I do pretty well. But there are unique challenges, and that's all I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say, you know, I rode backs like all day today. That was like my thing today, is I was on everybody's back. And we had some big guys in the class. One of the
Dude, we had some big guys in the class. Yeah, that
one of the
purple belt. Dude,
the purple belt was like
dusty.
it took me 6.5 minutes to get you off of my back.
trying.
It was like
Some big blue belts, man. Yeah, there was some big guys in the class for sure today.
So don't get me wrong on that stuff. Like I'm not saying that like little guys can't win or do well against big guys. It's just unique challenges. Marcus, all things being equal, it matters, but things are never equal. Stay steps ahead, train more. Things is when you start BJJ in a room where you're the smallest and everyone else has been training for years. That could be pretty overwhelming. Yeah.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah. When you're
'Cause you don't
first
understand
starting,
yet. Yeah.
you can't keep yourself. It's hard to keep yourself safe in positions like that if you have a big guy who's also new. Yeah,
That's rough. You'd hope the big guy has some experience to be nice, right?
But you don't know how to frame and keep yourself protected yet.
Yeah, you're still hugging them when they're on top side control, as if you got them, right?
That was one.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things for my growth. Also, was like actually learning how to frame and keep the pressure off my ribs. Keep the pressure off.
Which you're very good at. You have very solid frames, bro. Because they don't budge. They're very strong.
It was a necessity to keep training, because I went through injuries from knee on belly. I went through injuries from like ribs and chest compressions and these things were just being twisted. Mostly as like blue belt, and it was just like frame, keep them off me. And it's just different, little bumps. And again, I don't want to harp on the little guy thing too much, but little bones break quicker.
Little bones break quicker.
Jeremy says, I'm kind of guilty of trying to do big dude stuff in my little dude body. Yeah. It's
tough, man.
And it's so rewarding when you get somebody your size.
No, I was just gonna say the worst thing that could happen is that you do it successfully a few times, man. That's like the coach's nightmare is when you actually successfully do big guy stuff, and then I'm like, now he thinks that works.
It feels so good.
Great. Yeah.
Oh,
satisfying.
Now it thinks it works.
Oh man.
It is satisfying. Because we spend so much time doing these.
On the receiving end.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, I got one, right?
Yep.
How many times does somebody like lift you or pick you up? Or like the other night, we have a giant white belt in here, and I got him in guard, and he literally just stands up. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we are.
Did you keep your guard closed and go up with them?
Yep.
Yeah, that's silly. I always open my guard when those monsters do that, bro.
I was able to set up a cross collar trick there and everything.
From the feet?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
he just jumped in like he was someone had you in a toddler carrier or something, like in the
Pretty much.
Oh, it's funny.
And you know, we got into the conversation afterwards of, yeah, this is jiu-jitsu. Like that was okay. If this was self-defense, if this was
You wouldn't.
ADCC,
Yeah.
I'm letting go as soon as I
course.
feel the elevation. But this has happened to me a couple times this week of like just being lifted up, and I got a head rush. They lift me up. Whoa, where am I in space?
Plus, like part of you is wondering, can I trust this guy? Like,
Right, no, that always
please don't
crosses-
smash me, man.
That always crosses your brain.
gosh.
Don't slam. Don't slam. We're playing jiu-jitsu. Don't slam me.
Yeah. You just wonder if they know they're not allowed to even sometimes, man.
This guy's been around for a little while, so he knew. But
Okay, good.
if it's a new white belt, I'm letting go immediately.
Yeah.
As if when you're rolling with a brand new white belt, you almost have to treat it like a street fight.
I know,
now
in a
you're,
way, right?
You're
Yeah.
doing jiu-jitsu and everything, but you got to be aware of flying elbows. You got to be aware of things coming at you. Where's their knees?
Definitely have slams.
Yeah.
Because they'll honestly think it's allowed and not know and just slam you. Oh, I'm sorry. Was that not allowed?
So when you're rolling with a
Sit
new,
there with the wind knocked out of you.
this is great advice for newer people. If you're rolling with a brand new person, like, don't expect them to know everything that's allowed and not allowed in
For
jiu-jitsu.
sure. For sure. Or even just like etiquette wise, like what's cool to do and what's not cool to do. Like some stuff's allowed, but it's like makes you a douche if you do it. Like they don't know that.
Ezekiel chokes are one of those that are like super legit, but it's a couple inches away from, wow, that's an Adam's apple. That's a.
Oh, yeah, I know what you mean.
That's just my
Yeah.
neck, buddy. Like, you're not on any arteries.
Right.
Which would, make it one of those like dick moves, right? So you're
Collapsing there.
Yeah,
Right,
trachea.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
so close to being like a legit move or not a legit move.
Yeah.
So
That's funny.
you got to take that into account. But always be wary of people who are brand new because they might not have the same etiquette or even be aware of what etiquette is for the jiu-jitsu room. And that is another hour of the Belts Off podcast. Thanks for joining us, guys.
They might not be able to spell etiquette, bro.
I can't.
They might not.